Water quality is under threat globally as a result of human activity. With agriculture being the dominant land use in Ireland, agriculture is one of the main pressures on water quality. While some improvements have been made in recent years, many of our water bodies are not capable of supporting the insects and plants that indicate good water quality. By 2022, just over 50% of our water bodies were at good ecological status, or better, with almost half of our waters at moderate status or worse. This is well short of the 100% target set by the EU Water Framework Directive. CAP Network Ireland and the WaterMARKE Research Project bring you this case study that highlights an innovative collaborative approach to identify and tackle water quality issues at farm level that centres on the interplay between water catchment scientists and a dedicated team of water quality advisors. WaterMARKE is jointly funded by two bodies, the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine and the Environmental Protection Agency. First, catchments to be prioritised were identified in consultation with local communities. Then catchment scientists from Local Authority Waters Programme visit these priority areas for action to identify the nature of the problem. The Agricultural Sustainability Support Advisory Programme advisors, funded by Teagasc and Dairy Industry Ireland, work with farmers to identify both the specific source of the problem and to develop a farm plan to put appropriate mitigation measures in place.
The Teagasc stream here was selected as an area for action under the second cycle of the River Basin Management Plan because it was thought to be polluting Lilliput bathing waters, which is adjacent to us here. It was put forth by Westmeath County Council and selected as an area for action for LawPro. So LawPro undertook a desktop assessment on the stream and found that we did have agricultural pollution happening in the stream. We compiled all the available information into a desktop assessment which we published online. We would have met with the farmers here in 2019 on the 1st of July and had a farmers meeting where we all met and we looked at the river and the stream and what the ecology of the stream was telling us. Basically, it was telling us that the water quality was very good at the top of the catchment but only moderate at the lower end of the catchment. We would have then got into the river and looked at the ecology, the macroinvertebrates and the macrophytes, looked at them and examined them to see what they were telling us. Basically, we did have diffuse agricultural pressures at the lower section of the river. The problem wasn't too bad. We actually have really good water quality at the top of this stream, but it just deteriorates as the stream progresses down through the catchment. So in this section here, it's only moderate water quality. So we had to ensure that the water was improved. So we set up a monitoring programme with Westmeath County Council to look at the significant issues. We found that excess phosphorus and sediment was causing the water quality issues in this stream. Once we were aware of that, we walked certain sections and we carried out macroinvertebrate assessments and we pinned down the areas that we thought were more problematic than others, and we would have referred these to the ASAP advisor to engage with the farming community in these areas. So a small stream impact score is a measure of water quality. We go in and we kick the substrate and we gather up the macroinvertebrates, we put them in a tray and we assess them, and we know from what's living in the stream how polluted the water is.
PAA is a priority area for action under the River Water Management Plan Cycle 2. And we've identified here the Teagasc Lough Ennel stream. My role is to engage with farmers in the PAA as a group and as an individual as well. On the farm here, David would have attended a public meeting that I would have organised where I would have invited all the farmers in the catchment and we would have highlighted the general issues, and then that would have been backed up by individual farm visits where we would have identified more individual measures that need to be improved on their farms. I would have engaged with LawPro, and the catchment scientist there, happens to be Joan Martin in this case, would have made a referral in the area here. She would have identified issues that are affecting water quality. It was identified that slurry spreading at certain times of the year can be an issue with pathogens in the stream and the bathing water, and also cattle access points, cattle drinking from the stream and fencing. That was my basis to go forward. And then when you meet farmers individually, you're looking at how they manage their farms, if there's drinking points on the farm, if the streams are fenced, if the buffer margins are being adhered to, or in some cases we ask for increased buffer margins. So at the case of the lake here, under good farm practice, a farmer is obliged to keep 20 metres back from the lake. But with the backup of the referral, I felt the 20 metres wasn't sufficient. So in consultation with the farmer, David Fay in this case, we agreed to increase the margin to 100 metres on a voluntary basis. And I recommended that the drinking points were closed off and additional fencing of stream fencing, fencing of drains, fencing of watercourses were implemented as well. So all that has resulted in improvement of water quality in the lake and the stream.
Well, the first time I heard of the water quality issue was when the bathing water in Lilliput was stopped, and then nearly straight away Joan Martin came out. We talked about the water quality from there, and they done a couple of assessments on the river here, and they seen that this river was going to have a problem. And she just asked me would I engage, so I agreed to engage. All the local farmers came together and we had a meeting. Joan just highlighted the issues that the water quality was dropping and the different measures that we could possibly take. Then David Webster came out on an individual basis then and talked to each of us of what I could specifically do on my farm. And he went to all the other farms as well. And my problem here was the cattle were going into the river and drinking from the river. I've just fenced off some of the drinkers up here, upstream here, and we pumped the water out of the river rather than letting the cattle go into the river to drink. We sucked the water out, pump it across the farm up to the troughs there behind me. It seems to have worked well with the water quality overall, and the other farms seem to be quite happy. The other things I do then as well, because I'm so close to the lake here behind me, I keep back 100 metres from the lake as a buffer zone for slurry, and all the dry drains we're keeping back in further from more into the field because we're so sensitive to the water here, so we're keeping back about 30 metres. The slurry keeping back, you have to be very mindful of the weather conditions and the time of the height of the grass and the time of the year you're doing it. The year that we have with the weather, that can be challenging, but that's challenging for everyone, getting the slurry out. The water system going in, it's a huge improvement, but we now have a water system on our farm where we didn't have one before. By fencing off the drinkers, putting the pump in, we now have troughs all over the farm so we can split fields 4 ways. So we're kind of guided by the drains and the rivers of where cattle can go in and out, and we're constantly fencing them, cattle breaking them down, whatever else. This way it's far better for us anyway. Initially, you'd be afraid because you get the blame for doing this, but then when you start engaging with them, they were grand, no problem at all in doing the tasks. Lexi Joan was grand to work with, Dave came out, no problems. Once you work with it and get into the idea that the water quality is deteriorating in the country and these things do work, so we are making a difference.
The identification of the water quality issue and appropriate farm mitigation actions on Lough Ennell's shores in County Westmeath provides a good practice illustration of how a combination of scientific research, effective communication with local communities and targeted intervention at the source of pollution can improve water quality trends. This process is being replicated in these priority areas for action across the country, with the Agricultural Sustainability Support Advisory Programme reporting positive cooperation from farmers. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, priority areas for action where Local Authority Waters Programme and the Agricultural Sustainability Support Advisory Programme are working together are experiencing improvements in water quality trends compared to water bodies outside priority areas for action.